Welcome to the Pot Noodle on Celtic Down Under. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight is Liam. So, before we get into anything, Liam, we've got to get through these first 5 minutes, obviously.
Mm.
But the key thing here is I was going to name this episode, as I said to you off air, Sweary Time with Liam. So that's what I think tonight will be. If you want the clear, controlled version of Liam's thoughts on everything that's happened in the last week, I think that's tomorrow on Axon. Tonight, it is this bloke over here is going to cut sick. So,
Before we begin, Jared, I do have a pre-prepared statement that I want to read. Okay? Don't worry, no swearing yet. My daddy says that I'm right and you're wrong, so shut up. Anyway.
Anyway, makes perfect sense. Brilliant. Yeah, been an interesting bit of time as a Celtic fan. Before we even get into the game and everything, Liam, I'm just gonna. It's been tough this season. Like, being honest with you, like, it was a 7 a.m. kickoff for us. I think it was the other day. So you think, oh, how good's this? I'll get up early, and I just couldn't get out of bed. Don't know why. I'm just not feeling the love of, when Ange was a gaffer and it was like every player in the team was likable.
Aye.
Even there was some rubbish players on the bench, but you're like, I like them. They try hard. Like Ralston that season stepped up, and you're like, yeah, I like the Bricky. At least he gets out there and tries hard, right?
Yeah.
I'm struggling to find that for the way we're playing. Individual players within our team. Some players look to have dropped their heads. Others look like they don't care. So there's all this sort of stuff going on, which is making it. And then you see how we're playing, and then everything that's going on behind the scenes at the board level, and with Brendan leaving and all this, and it's just making it a hard slog. Like, I'm just not feeling. I love my club, don't get me wrong, but I'm just not feeling that same level of like connectiveness to the club this season as I was last season and the year before. I don't know how you're feeling over there in Japan, but that's how it is for me.
Totally get that. I totally get that, because what I would liken it to, right, just to put a personal perspective on it, is like, last year I found out about end of December that my contract and my job was finishing the following March. Now, I enjoyed my job. I loved teaching the kids, whatever. But it's like going in there and like, this is all going to be gone in a matter of weeks. So it's like motivating yourself to actually like go through all the motions. You're like, what is the point? And it does kind of feel like that a bit with Celtic just now, because we know a new manager is going to come in and probably rip up the current system that we're using. A whole load of players are going to leave in January. A whole load of other players are hopefully going to come in to replace them. So either way, it does feel like we're just kind of spinning our wheels here and waiting until January to see what is the next incarnation, is it the next iteration is Celtic actually going to look like? And we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like the old thing, like, as you're saying, you're leaving your job and it's like, what are they going to do? Fire me? And some of the players seem like they have that mindset. Like, when you've come in, you've been in that company for ages, things aren't happy, and you're just like, you've handed in your notice, or I'm just swinging it this way now, and it's like, you know what? What are they going to do? If I'll come in, I'll do my job, but I'm not going to do overtime. I'm not going to stay late. What are they going to do? Fire me? I'm leaving anyway.
Yeah.
It seems like some players have got that sort of attitude as well.
I think so. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but like I say, it's just symptomatic of a team that is at every level is either about to go through transition or is currently in a state of transition. So
it's not just the team, Liam. The team's a massive part of it for us supporters, but you've got the board, the collective and the board, and statements and stuff, which we'll get into in a little bit. But they don't value us and what we put into the club. And the way I look at it is the club is the fans. We're the guys who have been there. It's our relatives and our forefathers who have been those fans in generations before us. So looking at it, the club is, what's the saying? That football is nothing without fans. I know I butchered that quote, but it pretty much sums it up. And I don't know how we're going to turn this around. Like, you bring in a new manager, great. You move a bunch of players out, you bring in new players, great. But it's still the same board. It's still the same recruitment issues. There's still going to be those lingering issues in the background. And my concern is, what do we end up with? Do we end up with an FC United of Manchester scenario where fans and people putting their hands in their pockets go, you know what, screw this, we'll go and start up our new, you know, our own club nearby based on the Celtic ethos and let these Tory bastards on the board do their thing? Yes,
Do
Liam,
you
we're
know?
past the 5 minutes before I said that. So,
Yeah, yeah. Tory bastards has been complimentary to those shower of cunts. But anyway, the no, I was actually talking to my dad about this kind of tangentially last night because I was saying how I read an article about a week ago just saying how there's a massive surge at the moment in England in support for non-league football. Loads of, like you're getting like non-league clubs are getting like 2,000-3,000 a crowd at the weekends now because people think, well, you know what, it might not be the same skill level, but it's real football. It's heart and soul. It's guys getting stuck in and just playing the game the way it should be played, and that's especially where you know an entity that's become as bastardized and artificial and fake as English Premier League. And of course, Scotland, not just Celtic, I think Scottish football in general, keeps trying to emulate that, and we shouldn't. We should be looking at progressive leagues like Germany, like Holland, where the fans still have a lot of control, and in turn, the fans buy into it.
and yeah, it's honest football. It's what football was. It's community. It's people looking at going 600 quid a year for a season book, and the board openly laugh at you. People in the
Mm.
Green Brigade who were down in England on a Bucks weekend weren't even there at the Falkirk game when the shit hit the fan, who get a 3-game ban from a ticket they've spent 600 quid on for the season. They're getting cut off for what, a third of their, sorry, like, what, how many home games are there? 19, 20, something like that. They're getting cut out for, like a seventh of their home games, 6 or 7 games. They're missing one in 6 or 7 because of this, and they weren't even there.
Yep.
Like, that takes the heart and the soul away from football, and it just means we're not members, as we've spoken about on this. The international membership. They don't even think about that. At the end of the day, we're customers. We're just put your hand in your pocket, buy that merch drop, and shut up. And that's pretty much how they're treating us. And people in England are the same way. They've had enough, as you're saying. They're going to the league, non-league, and that's that's coming along nicely.
Yeah.
I want Scottish football to keep its heart and its soul.
Yeah. It was good to see, actually, talking about it, was good to see the Green Brigade going to the B team game at the weekend. I thought that was the perfect response. It's like, because it's like, well, you said we're banned for Celtic games. You didn't say anything about the B team or the women's team, or So I think they should do that. Go to a B team game this week, go to a women's game next week, and just continue to support Celtic in other forms.
We had that down here in
Um,
the A-League, Liam. There was like a supporters group at one of the Melbourne team's Victory who got banned for, throwing a bucket of sand into a goalkeeper's head and this sort of stuff, right? And they got banned. So they start showing up at the NPL, which is the next tier down at the youth teams games. They start going to the women's games instead. So
yeah,
still supporting their club.
aye, yeah, and fair play to every one of the Green Brigade that turned up at Cowdenbeath at the weekend. That was respect.
Yeah, I had a bit of an argument with a few people online about that. There was a bunch of happy clappers saying they shouldn't be there, blah blah blah, and I'm like, they're fans. Don't tell people how to support their team. Like, that's the issue with me. Like, I, I, I don't agree with everything the Green Brigade does and stands for. Right? There's some things they do that bug me. A lot of things they do, I agree with. Right? So some things they do. So it's a bit of give and take here. I don't expect you to agree with everything I say on the pod or people in the comments to agree with things I'm saying. We all got different viewpoints, right? So that's how it is. But the thing I can't stand is when people are saying they shouldn't be doing this. They've been banned. It's like a cut and dry black and white thing. No, no, no. Doesn't
No,
work like that.
see, the thing is, right, and some people might interpret this as a dig at the Green Brigade, and that's not the way it's intended, right? But it's an observation as someone who is neither affiliated to the Green Brigade or affiliated to the Celtic board. I've got my obvious sympathies one way or the other in that argument, but I don't have any direct connection to either group. But when I read the statements that come out from both sides, when I read the actions that are taken by the board, I don't know if you heard about the boy that got his house smashed up and his dad's phone taken off him on Thursday morning. So that police could arrest him for breach of the peace, which is equivalent to, like, a $15 fine or whatever, in Australia probably. But anyway, what I see quite often with statements is that it's both sides have become so antithetical to each other now that it's a case of talking past each other. We have had more dialogue in the first 10 minutes of this show than those two groups have had with each other probably in the last 10 years. Because they cannot even be in the same room as each other anymore. That is the level of disdain that has built up between them. And it's entirely caused by the board refusing to talk to fans as human beings.
To use a nice Aussie term for you, Liam, the way those two groups are, there's that much ego in that involved. It's just a dick swinging contest. It's who's got the bigger junk. That's pretty much all it is. Like, they're not going to get along. They're not going to agree on anything. So get on with it. Like, that's why I'm saying, are we going to see the FC United of Manchester sort of set up here with people who support the Ultras and who are of the mindset, not another penny goes into Celtic, we'll just go and spend it on that. Are we going to see that? I can actually see that happen. I don't want it to happen, but the unfortunate thing is this whole not another penny. We're playing in the Europa League, so funds are down. Board's absolutely butchering it. No one wants to give anything. I don't even want to buy a Celtic top this season, not because I like collecting them. I like getting at least one a season. I don't even want to do that because I don't want to give the club a bloody single cent, right? But then what the board are going to do in turn will be like, well, we haven't made the money through, merch drops, and we haven't made our money that we need for our budget. We're spending 50 million on wages this year. We've lost a certain percentage here, so we'll just sell more players and bring in absolute rubbish and weaken the team, and then that's just going to cause even more hassles. So it's just there's a whole range of flow-on effects here, giving the shits basically.
It's just as I say, it's a mess, but it's you talk about the idea of throwing petrol on the fire. I think that AGM on Friday, it was more like chucking napalm onto an inferno. It's how can it actually, it's almost admirable that the Celtic board can look at this and think, how can we make an even bigger cunt of ourselves than we already have? And that's basically what they did.
They tried to get our shareholders to basically buy into what they wanted. And I'll just go through some cliff notes. This is what I wrote down, right? And then I'll let you dive into it because you would have written about it in a lot more detail from the Axon blog and all that sort of stuff, right? So I'm just going to give my thoughts on what I saw, and then we'll dive into it. So I'm like, Celtic's AGM was a farce. What I heard happening, the rundown was the board show up, they get booed, they get shown red cards. The club tries to show their Wankfest video. Jeanette Finlay from the Celtic Trust gets up saying, move it along, because that's what the collective agreed to do because they wanted more time for question and answers at the end rather than these, patting themselves on the back, jerking each other off sort of thing in that video was. Well, that's the first time I've heard Michael Nicholson's voice ever watching that video. Okay, so I don't know if that's his voice or if that's someone AI. I couldn't tell you, right? But they do that. Then that all happens. They call the adjournment, walk it out, come in. Ross Desmond's statement happens. I might be out of order here with the way it's happened. Clearly, I think the early ending of the meeting was premeditated to avoid the Q&A section at the end of the meeting because they didn't want to do that. And then what proves that premeditation to me off the back of that was how quickly the club released a couple of statements off the back of the AGM, bagging out the fans and the behaviour at it. was like one statement, 3 minutes later, another statement. They're almost at Sevco levels of statement releasing.
Yeah. So,
Do you want me to play some of these videos and stuff, Liam, and show some pictures before we...
Aye, go on then. Get me fired up before I let rip. Let's do it.
All right, let's see what we've got here.
But in keeping with the Celtic board's style, I have to say, did you ask your dad for permission before you did any of this?
So that was courtesy of, I don't know, some rando on Twitter.
Mm.
And then there's this bit, which... with that bloke just standing up and looking back like, what's going on here?
That's a lot more than 30 or 40 people holding up red cards, isn't it?
A hell of a lot more, Liam. And it's...
Yeah. And remember, that's just one room. There was an overspill room that had even more people in it.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, they're trying to say it was 30 or 40 troublemakers. All people saying, like, what's his name? I can't remember which journalist was saying, oh, it was all Green Brigade people and that. No, it wasn't. It wasn't just... Look, have a look at that. It was not just Celtic Trust. It wasn't just Green Brigade. They were the two that they threw it under the bus saying it was them. There's people from the Celtic Fans Collective. There was general shareholders getting involved because they're pissed off that they're not getting what's happening with their money at the club, right? And the club they love, it's an absolute shambles.
I mean, they said it was the Trust and the Green Brigade, right? So let's just take that in isolation for a minute, right? One, I've not seen a shred of evidence that anybody from the Green Brigade was even at that meeting. And if there was, and certainly nobody there identified themselves as being part of the Green Brigade, right? So you can't blame a fan group for an event that they weren't even at in an official capacity. Secondly, the Trust. The only connection to the Trust is the fact that it was Jeanette Finlay, a leading member of the Trust, who raised a very valid point of order, which is, as a shareholder, she is fully entitled to do. Anybody in the room could have said what she did, because it's fully within your rights as a shareholder, to basically, in the politest and most formal way possible, say, can we cut the bullshit and get down to the important stuff, please? That was what she was doing, because she knew they were trying to burn through as much time as possible with that stupid PR video that nobody wanted to watch, and which was going to be put up on YouTube probably an hour later anyway. So there was absolutely no need to take up shareholders' valuable time, which they all gave up. You know, people had to either arrange time off work, or they had to, arrange time out of work to go to that meeting. Because of course, holding the meeting on a weekend or in an evening when people could actually attend it would just be too much like a good idea, wouldn't it? And then the board, after they threw their little strop and walked out, they came back in and they said, look, we ask for calm, Look, fine, you want us to calm down? You need to read the fucking room and calm down. But what's the first two things that happen? First of all, they say, right, the meeting's going to finish at 12:30 regardless. So you're getting half an hour less than you should have. We're going to show the video anyway, despite the fact none of you want to watch it. And then Nepo baby in chief Ross Desmond's going to have a tantrum right in front of you all, and none of you are going to get to say anything about it, because the minute you do, we're going to close the meeting and storm off in a huff. Shower of cowardly, fucking two-faced bastards. There is no other way to put it.
Ross ain't the boss. There you go.
His dad's not even the boss.
Yeah, I know. He should just be sitting there just fucking twiddling his thumbs. So, yeah, I'm just going to go through some comments for a bit of Liam. So, smell the glove. I just realised we've gone 20 minutes, haven't brought up a single comment here because we've gone off. Loving it. Smell the glove. Great troopers. Fuck the board. Hail, Paul. Heavy Vibes is saying, line in the sand time, stop giving the bastards money.
Yep.
Smell the gloves saying, surely after Daddy's Boy hatred of the fans that even a lot of their happy clappers are turning.
You would think so.
Yeah, so Slobbering Cabbage is saying Desmond treats Celtic like his own personal fiefdom. Minority shareholder who makes all decisions and is not accountable to no one. The only positive on that is Lindsay Train sold some more shares. So if you put Dermot and Lindsay Train stuff together, it's now under 50%.
Mm. But we don't know who bought this other 500,000 of shares that are just floating about somewhere.
I wish I could drop some knowledge on you here and say it was me, boo-ha-ha-ha, to the
So,
board. But, I wish if I had that money, would I do this? I have to deal with those idiots?
no, but that's Lindsay Train. They did it. They did it after Dermot's last tantrum as well. When he had that statement about Rodgers that was completely unprofessional and that was not his place to write on official club media.
It's like they're doing it just to say, oi, wind your neck in.
Aye, that's exactly. He did that, and the day later, Lindsay Train unloaded enough shares to, I think, their combined shareholding was still 50.3% or something. But now it's 49.8%. It's down under the 50% margin. So he no longer has that luxury of letting them, be his proxy and just getting things over the line as he wants. I still don't think any other major shareholders have got a spine enough to stand up to him and actually overthrow him. But he no longer has that, like you would call in politics, you would call it a working majority. He no longer has a working majority.
If only when, 15 years ago when Bitcoin came out, Liam, we all chucked, like you and me both chucked 15 grand a pop in. We'd both be like 11 billionaires and we'd be able to buy out Dermot between the two of us and just sort it out. Slobbering Cabbage, after what we heard from Desmond in the last few months, we know exactly what the Green Brigade have to put up with. The disconnect is 100% Dermot, Desmond and the board's fault.
Yeah.
Heavy vibes.
Make no mistake, what happened to the Green Brigade on Thursday and then what happened on Friday, those are connected.
100%.
That's all part of an ongoing campaign for Desmond to basically say, I'm the emperor, I'm running the show. No, you're not.
There's a comment on the screen from Heavy Vibe says the board wanted to talk to fans when the ground was half empty under Ronnie. Get the tarps out. You're going to need them. And yeah. Stephen McGonigal is saying the board's attitude is it's my ball and my dad is bigger than your dad.
That's pretty much it. I mean, you can't argue with that. That's the sad thing.
Yeah, Smell the Glove saying the board won't be able to ignore Adidas when they get asked why their sales aren't what was anticipated, especially after we've just been bumped up to that top tier.
Yeah.
That's the entity Desmond won't be able to fob off, is the Slobbering Cabbage's reply to that. Your girl Bonnie is saying, I hope everyone stop buying merch and Celtic TV. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the thing for me as well, Liam, like what I'm hearing is there's a whole bunch of people on other pods who are saying that's it, they've had enough. It's a line in the sand moment. They're not going to renew their season book. They've had enough. Like they can get tickets to away games, go to Europe. They know enough people to do that. But yeah, there's going to be a bit of a drop off, and I think it's going to be wide, a bit of an eye opener for the club in terms of they claim they've got this 10, 15,000 on a waiting list. How many of them are going to want a season ticket?
Yeah. The other issue with that is that we're not just talking about season ticket numbers here. Like you say, it's the whole operation. Adidas and whatever are going to start saying, where's our money? Because they'll have been made certain promises. And, whoever runs the stadium catering at Celtic now, because I'm pretty sure they will have outsourced it because they always did, they're going to say, well, wait a minute, where's our, why are we getting punished because you have upset your fan base, And that was actually an idea which I brought up on the blog yesterday, which I'll put out here and see what people in the comments let me know what you think. Right?
Is that the article you wrote about how further things to do for the Not Another Penny, or is it a different one?
No, it's the expansion on Not Another Penny. Yeah. Right?
Cool. Crack into that, Liam, because that was a friggin' awesome blog, mate.
If you've got a match day program from Celtic, and you look, I don't know if it's still the same, but it used to be in the back page. There's a list of all the companies that have some kind of sponsorship at Celtic. It might just be they take a table in the number 7 restaurant, or it might be they've got a corporate box, or they've got trackside advertising, whatever. But it's usually, I think it's over 100 companies, some local, some international, whatever. If we just, as a fan base, said, right, the not another penny now doesn't just apply to Celtic, it applies to every company that puts any money towards that board. So all those companies that are listed, the collective could get that list, put it out there, and say, right, none of these companies get our money now until this board is out. That's how you turn the pressure on them, right? Adidas and whatever will be angry with Celtic, but at the end of the day, they could take a hit for probably 3 or 4 years and not feel it because you're talking billions of dollars with them, right? But that, your wee double glazing firm or whatever that's got a couple of advertising boards at Celtic, if they're suddenly losing a 5-figure sum in customers, they'll be like, wait a minute, you could bankrupt me here with your stupidity. Times that by 50, 100 different little companies, and suddenly you've got a whole groundswell of pressure.
It all adds
And
up.
you're hitting the club in the one place where they are vulnerable, which is financial.
The one thing on that, Liam, is I agree 100% in terms of that will stop money coming in. And then it's not just us fans and shareholders and that the club has to listen to. We can vote with our feet. That's about it, right? Or
Yeah.
go on the games and vote without our money by not spending. These other companies, if they go, oh, my business is now at risk. I'm not going to renew my sponsorship because of what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
That's great and everything, but I look at it. The one little concern I have is if you're dealing with the mum and dad shops that have like a couple of boards on there, then maybe the companies are turning over 100, 200 grand a year, sort of thing, right? Not massive revenue, and you do that, and no one spends any money with them. They will feel the pressure a hell of a lot more than the board. And will the board give a shit if they go to the wall and they go, no, we're not going to renew next year? They won't care if it's one person with a couple of signs. So I think it needs to be a little bit more targeted because if these companies come out and say, we stand with the collective, we stand with the fans, and they actually come and vocalize that, are we then going to support them again? That's the thing there. We need to figure out if we can turn them and get them to side with guys like Willie Hoy and his group or the Celtic Trust or whatever, the collective, great.
Well, let's put a slightly different spin on it then. Instead of just saying boycott these companies, let's say we encourage you to divest from your current spending at Celtic. And if you don't, the Celtic support will no longer patronise your establishment. That's a better way of putting it. I mean, that's the people who are like anti-Israel do that with companies that put money into Israel.
Yeah.
The anti-fossil fuel lobby do the same thing, with companies that are actively investing in fossil fuels. And they put pressure on, for example, universities, investment banks, people with serious money and say, like, we are not going to put any more money into your entity if you don't stop putting money into these things that are harmful. So it's a much, much smaller version of that same grander idea. But I think it works. And to me, it's the next logical step up from the Not Another Penny campaign.
The sponsors and that who are bigger companies I can live with, like not giving them a single cent just straight away. It's just, I just got to think of the little man because
Of course.
our club was founded to help the poor. And I
Hmm.
don't want us turning away from these small little 1, 2, 3 man family businesses. If there are a few of them there, Liam, I'm not sure how many of them are that way. It could be only one or two we're talking about here. But I
Hmm.
don't want to force those people to lose their house and become poor because we've turned our back on them because they're supporting our football club. That's the only issue I have with that. The rest of what you wrote, I was 100% on board with.
The one I mean, your point is absolutely valid, right? But the one argument I would put back to that. Now, again, I have not seen the figures since 2007, 2008 was the last time I looked at all this stuff at Celtic. The last time I had access to it in terms of my dad's company working with Celtic. The money that Celtic were charging then for example, packages in the number 7 restaurant for a season, packages in the Walford suite, executive boxes, trackside advertising, right? It was 5 figures. So any company that can afford to pay that isn't going to go bankrupt because Celtic fans stop using them for 3 or 4 months. But it's going to be enough that it's going to hit them, and it's going to hit their bottom line, which is then going to in turn lead to them turning it back to Celtic and saying, we invested in you because we thought it was good for our business. It's actively hurting our business now.
I'm just going to end. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Liam. I'm just going to end this on here, right? Because I get what you're saying. It's a rare state of affairs when you're the one thinking of a more capitalistic mindset, and I'm the one thinking more communist mindset on something like this.
It's gone full circle.
It's very rare when we full on flip reverse our roles on this, because usually I'm the one throwing devil's advocate on that capitalism side because I know how much of a communist you are, and we've just completely flipped it. And you were talking, then all of a sudden I'm like, hang on a second, what the fuck's going on here?
Oh my god. Yeah, reminds me of the day that Thatcher died. I told you this, I got a text from my dad. This was how I found out. Got a text from my dad about 10 minutes after the story broke, and he says, got to hand it to Thatcher. Only been in hell for half an hour. She's already privatised 2 furnaces.
I'm going to bring up a comment here from Michael Rice. We turn up, hit the like button, make amazing comments, and very few are read out. We're just customers.
Yes, Lou, shut up and give us super chats.
And before that, it was Michael Rice. Why was my Desmond comment not read out? I demand answers. Sorry, I have to go check with my dad if I can read that statement out or
not. Sorry, Dad says no happening.
Hey, just for that, Desmond never turns up because he's scared someone will say, I must ask you a question.
Somebody pointed out to me the other day that Dermot Desmond and Edward Longshanks from Braveheart could have been separated at birth, and now I can't unsee it.
That's amazing. Yeah. Brilliant. But yeah, it's just back to this comment here. Appreciate all you getting involved, putting the likes on the videos and everything. Do appreciate it.
Aye.
We're just in another world tonight. I think, man, Liam, we haven't even got. We normally start the Monday pod talking about the weekend's game. We haven't even gone that, and we're more than halfway through yet.
Let's face it. We could talk about the game in 30 seconds. Shite game, beautiful goal, 1-0. We scraped it. Let's move on.
Okay, hang on. We can do that, but I'll just bring this up. I went to the effort to at least get this in the screen. Right. So there's the starting lineup. So Schmeichel, Ralston, Trusty, Scales, Tierney, McGregor, Hatate, Engels, Taneki Maeda, Kenny. Blah, 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 right? My older brother sent me this, right? Talking about the weekend's game. He goes, I got this after the game. I'm hands and Celtic has ruined my life. I'm 25 years old. He sent me that because, he goes, you can get a Simpsons meme for anything. And, sure enough. Yeah, that's pretty much sums up what watching that game was like. It's just shocking, and then that happened. So anyway, did you see, Liam, the new banners outside the stadium that they put up?
Yeah.
These ones. For those on audio, it says behave on it. Big letter on each of them.
Somebody said that, to talk about the communist thing again for a minute, somebody said that Celtic Park recently has taken on the appearance of an old Eastern Bloc stadium from the 60s or 70s. And I says, no way, at least the Soviets would have had the signs up on time.
Spot on. So what I want to do, we'll get back to to the what's it called? Back to the AGM shit for a minute here, right?
Yeah.
So we had a. I'll read the fan collectives posts they put out afterwards about it, and then I'll read the club statements, right?
Mm.
So, yesterday's AGM at Celtic Park confirmed what many of us already knew. The current board holds the Celtic support in open contempt and now flagrantly attacking the fan base to avoid facing basic accountability. As board members entered the meeting, they were roundly booed, blah, blah, blah. We spoke about that. Major shareholder, not major shareholder, largest shareholder.
Minority shareholder.
Yeah, his largest minority shareholder, Dermot Desmond, for all his tough posturing, once again shat it. I'm Jared-ifying this up a bit here.
Yes. Yeah.
He chose
Yeah.
to send his pampered heir Ross, who had no right to address shareholders, has likely never paid into a Celtic match in his life, to profoundly insult and intentionally provoke supporters and shareholders with a speech that many view as a historical low point. Peter
Mm.
Lawwell, dickhead. That's pretty much what they're saying there. Michael Nicholson sat mute. Surprising. It's our view that the PLC were determined to avoid being held to account as part of the standard Q&A. However, given that when we met with them for 2 hours on the 6th of October and we didn't get answers, it's unlikely they would have told us anything. In the aftermath, a flurry of statements were released. The usual Friday 6 p.m. time slot, laying blame for the shambolic AGM on a disruption caused by the Green Brigade and Celtic Trust. Two key takeaways on this. One, we reject entirely the characterisation that fans and ordinary shareholders disrupted this meeting. The Celtic fan collective sought to move a perfectly reasonable motion to move on to next business, which the
Yep.
chair refused to recognise, leading to an understandable and audible dissatisfaction on the meeting floor. After the adjournment that had been pathetically called by the chair, fans and shareholders understandably reacted with the provocation of Desmond's reprehensible tirade. Two, the suggestion that this is related solely to Green Brigade and Celtic Trust is false, and so too is the claim that around 40 attendees were angered by the board's handling. The fan collective represents hundreds of fan groups, supporter buses, fan media, podcasts, organisations, and ultra groups. Moreover, the majority of match-going supporters now see through the transparent attempts to divide our movement by laying blame at the door of specific elements, particularly the Green Brigade. There have been concerted efforts to target and vilify the Green Brigade, as Dermot Desmond has been lashing out at the most vocal element. Yesterday showed beyond doubt that the Desmonds hold Celtic support and the values of the club in contempt. They are willing to target anyone who challenges them. Moreover, the Celtic support and what we stand for will outlast the detached millionaire and the billionaire custodians. Football is nothing without the fans. So, with that in mind, Liam,
Yes.
I couldn't have said it better myself. There's only one thing I've seen better, and it's a
Mm.
letter that one of the CSC buses is putting forward. Um, I don't know if you saw this in one of the group chats or not.
Mm.
It's
Don't
from the,
don't think I have actually. Let's see it.
the Harriet Watt CSC has
All right.
drafted a letter to the board to be addressed to Peter Lawwell as chairman of the board. This is a bit of a long one, so I'll quickly get a drink. Yeah, it's goes on behalf of the majority of members in our supporters club. We are writing to express our concern about recent actions of the board and its members, events at Celtic Football Club culminating in the fiasco at the recent AGM. In terms of the AGM itself, while we understand your frustration with the disruption caused by the supporter protests and sympathise with the abuse suffered by board members, we feel that the meeting was poorly handled by the board. In particular, Ross Desmond's statement was unnecessary and counterproductive. For one thing, we believe that someone who is not a member of the board or an executive should not be at the top table, let alone speaking for the Celtic Football Club, regardless of who their father is. For another, his attack on groups' supporters was totally inappropriate for an AGM, where the business should primarily be to receive the report and accounts, update on progress, vote on resolutions, and answer questions from shareholders, not attack a subsection of those shareholders. It was provocative, and anyone with an ounce of common sense would have seen that this was bound to inflame passions and disturb the AGM. As it turned out, it led to the meeting being abandoned with no opportunity for shareholder questions, and the vote on resolutions delayed. By allowing such an ill-conceived statement to be read out, the board must bear ultimate responsibility for the abandonment of the AGM and the reputational damage that followed.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, this is not the first misstep by the board in recent months. It follows a poor summer transfer window where Celtic left it far too late to complete signings, which we believe contributed to the failure to qualify for the Champions League. The board is ultimately responsible for this failure. This was followed up by the unedifying way which Brendan Rodgers' resignation was handled. While we can sympathise with the frustrations of the board and the executive in their dealings with Rodgers latterly, the statement released by the club from Dermot Desmond was unbecoming of Celtic. If Mr. Desmond felt aggrieved about Rodgers, he should have expressed this through his private channels, not through the club. We're concerned that Mr. Desmond and his son increasingly prefer to speak for the club, but while he is the largest shareholder of the club, he is still only a minority shareholder. The board should not let them speak in this way. Either the board as a whole should speak as one voice on behalf of the club or not speak at all. Michael Nicholson's good at not speaking at all, right? So there you go. We are also concerned about the growing siege mentality exhibited by the board in their dealings with the supporters, and in particular sections of the Green Brigade. This is leading to a deteriorating cycle of protests and bans, which is distracting from the support shown to the team on the pitch. It is also leading to a growing merchandise boycott, which will have a negative financial impact on the club. Again, we sympathise with the board members and the abuse that they have suffered, but as the adults in the room, it is incumbent on the board to de escalate the situation and restore harmony on and off the pitch. While we condemn the recent attacks on stewards and others by some Green Brigade members, the collective punishment of all Green Brigade members, or any other group of fans for that matter, is excessive and unjust. Those involved in the attack should be banned, but the blanket 6-match ban for the Green Brigade should be lifted, not least to try and restore some goodwill. The board should also use its influence to try and de escalate the conflict with the Green Brigade and the police. This is affecting ordinary fans. The Kettling incident in March Glasgow Derby game didn't just prevent Green Brigade from attending, it also held up supporter buses like ours on London Road. As a result, our members, some of whom have mobility issues, had to walk over a mile to the game. To conclude, the supporters are the lifeblood of Celtic, not least in terms of ticket revenue and merchandise sales. While you may find some infuriating, you should recognise that they share your passion for Celtic and only want the best for the club. They make some valid points which the board would do well to consider. We would urge the board to pull back from the current destructive path of confrontation with the fans. We would urge you to avoid letting your emotions cloud your judgment and use common sense in your communications to avoid inflaming matters. We hope that in time, with patience and forbearance, we can get back to a place where we are all united behind players on the park, where the headlines are dominated by trophies won rather than issues off the park. I think that is the best written statement and thing I have seen summing up the complete situation at the moment. I know I went
Yeah.
on for about 3 minutes solid there, so I'll let you unpack that, Liam.
Balanced, reasonable, on point, and de escalatory. That is the most important part of it. Every major point that statement raises is valid, it's backed up by evidence, but it also offers the board an out. It also says to them, look, here is how you can dial back on this. Here's how you can soothe the situation. Here's what you have to do. And also, in the meantime, while you and the Green Brigade are having your powwow, here is how ordinary fans like us are being drawn into it and affected. And this is what the board don't seem to realise. They seem to think that by vilifying the Green Brigade, that everyone's going to think, oh, aye, it's those bloody communists and the Green Brigade, it's all their fault. No, people will. I know people who don't particularly care for the Green Brigade, but who are now very much in their corner because they see this for what it is, a bunch of rich guys trying to abuse their position of power to crush a protest movement against them.
It's also, Liam, on that, if I'm a fan going on one of these buses, I'm looking at going, if they're treating the Green Brigade like that with what they bring, the charitable work they do, the colour, the flair, everything they bring to the stadium, if they're willing to do that to them, what are they willing to do to me? And that's what's pushing people towards taking their side who don't really like them either. It's
Yeah.
like we need to keep strength in numbers because it's the only way we can.
Yep, it's members of the Green Brigade getting their doors kicked in and their phones taken off them today. Could easily be you or I tomorrow. Well, not me, because I've got a samurai sword there ready to go if they try any shit. But yeah, you get my point. But that's the thing. Where does it stop? And I think most reasonable Celtic fans have come to the conclusion that it stops here. This is it. This is as far as we go. You either shape up or you ship out, as far as the board are concerned.
Yep. And that's the thing. Like, there's some comments here. Like Michael Ross is saying, only a boycott of season tickets will change this board.
Do you know? I don't know if even that would be enough.
I don't think it
would
will
certainly have an impact, but I think Desmond's wealth is such that there is basically nothing the Celtic support can do that's going to hurt him seriously.
All they'll do, Liam, is really simple. If there's less season books, then all they'll do is they'll go to the manager and just reduce their budget and tell them they have to sell players. And that's all they'll do.
Yeah.
And they'll bring in more Luke McCowan types from within Scotland. And they'll be like, they'll get a Ronnie Dahlia type manager who's a yes man, who's in a position probably he shouldn't be in at that point in time, or a Neil Lennon type, and they'll get on with it.
Yeah, this is the problem. The old board in '94, we could starve them out. It was very clear they had a £5 million shortfall that if they didn't meet, the bank would call in the loans and Celtic were finished. That was the opening, and Brian Dempsey, Fergus McCann, and a few others stepped up and took it. That opening doesn't exist anymore because we're dealing with a guy who could literally spend the next 25 years chucking money into a black hole just out of spite. The only way we get rid of Desmond is by doing enough, creating enough of a fuss, if you like, that the rest of the board and the institutional backers come together and say, right, this guy's a toxic influence. I don't care if he owns 34%. He's got to go. He can keep his 34% if he wants, but he no longer has a controlling power over this club.
And on that, Liam, like Dermot has openly said that his plan is he will not sell his shares. He's going to pass them on to his son, Ross. That's what he said numerous times in the past. And as Michael Ross is saying, the one good thing that came out of the AGM is Ross now has a target on his back.
Yeah, and we also saw that one thing I'll say for Dermot Desmond, for all I think he's an ignorant pig of a man, he's no coward. Right?
Ross was shitting it when he was reading that.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's the point I'm making. Dermot Desmond is not a coward. But I don't think his son would take too much persuasion to say this is more trouble than it's worth. Cheerio. He clearly did not want to be there on Friday. And that statement was the actions of a cornered animal lashing out in desperation. And if that's him after one rough AGM, what's it going to be like after 6 months, a year of continuous protests, targeted abuse from fans?
Hey Ross,
he'll crack like a week-old egg.
Hey Ross, you want to get some points? Come on this podcast with me, Liam. Man, Liam. There you go. That'll show it. There it is.
Pass him around like currency.
See if you've got any balls, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael Ross is saying, have they said anything about rearranging the AGM? Apparently, they're not rearranging it. They just opened up the voting and has to be lodged by, I think, 7 p.m. on the 25th.
Yeah.
So tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Michael's also saying, so how do we get rid of them?
Well, like I just said, you make it as uncomfortable for them as possible that other shareholders will eventually club together and get because Desmond is the. To you, now this is not in any way disrespecting anybody who suffers from illnesses, right? But if you liken it to an illness, right? There's a cancer infesting Celtic right now, but Dermot Desmond is the main tumour. You cut out that tumour, you can then deal with the rest of the disease, right? To use that metaphor. So it doesn't matter how much we attack the other aspects of it. Desmond is the one who's making the worst of this happen. And it's his stubbornness that is allowing nothing to change. You know, it was his statement that set things off after Rodgers got bagged. It was his son's statement on Friday that set things off and got the AGM shut down. It's a pattern. It's a toxic pattern, and it needs to be removed.
I'm going to just jump on something here, Liam, and just join in. When Rodgers originally left, before the statement come out, right?
Yeah.
The talk was, Lawwell, apparently he's sick. He'll be off at the end of the year. Like the AGM was going to announce he's off at the end of the year. Michael Nicholson was going to take Lawwell's spot with the European Football Club Association thing and move on to that. So they're trying to bring in that, I think it's Susan Whelan or something like that from Leicester. Probably completely butchered her name. Bring her up to be the new CEO. So at that point, it looked like Dermot was clearing house. You know, Rodgers is gone. We're going to bring in a new CEO, a new chairman. We're going to get a new recruitment structure, a new manager, and off we go. And at that point, I felt, okay, this is reinvigorating. And then that statement come out.
Yeah.
And then that meeting happened. And then more shit. And more shit. And here we are. And now I'm at the point where I'm just like, I thought Peter Lawwell was the major issue, but he's only getting away with what he gets away with because he's doing what Dermot Desmond wants.
Lawwell and Nicholson both have the same problem, essentially. And I can't think of a delicate way to say this. They're both Dermot Desmond's bitches. That's basically the problem. The entire boardroom are Desmond's bitches at this point. That's...
I was going to say, one's hanging on to his left testy, one's hanging on his right one. There you go. Joke. But anyway, well, club statements afterwards were absolute shambolic. Let's have a bit of a laugh now. So the Hearts lost to the Sheep, Lamb.
Ich bin ein Sheepshagger, as someone famously once didn't say.
It's back to a 4-point gap, and we got a point in hand. A game in hand. So we win that. If we win that one, got to put the if in there. Brings it back to a point. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of an interesting one.
There is a beautiful, ironic scenario that is now very realistic here, right? We beat Hearts in a couple of weeks. The gap's down to a point. They play Rangers on December 21st. So, if all teams concerned win all their games up to that point, you would then have a scenario. Rangers would have to beat Hearts to have any realistic chance of salvaging their season. But by doing so, they would put us top of the league for Christmas.
I don't know.
If you're a Hun, which one do you pick there? Genuinely, that's fucking Hobson's choice right there.
I look at it and go, and what would I rather? Would I rather us go top, or would I rather, the Hun season pretty much be done and it's just us and the fucking jam tarts going at each other?
Oh, I think I would definitely much rather that the Huns won and put us top of the league, but also it would give them the false hope going into the New Year game a week later when we scud them and then completely blow apart their season. That's
even better.
Yeah, and I put far too much thought into that. So,
so I'm going to bring up some stuff talking about the manager stuff. So there was this floating around yesterday saying Celtic are poised to confirm the appointment of a Premier League experienced manager after final talks between senior club figures and the candidate concluded with a full agreement. Following weeks of I'll jump ahead a bit. Following weeks of discussions, multiple candidates, it's understood the manager in question has accepted the offer in principle. Incoming manager is former Wolverhampton Wanderers head coach Gary O'Neill, who has accumulated around a decade of Premier League coaching and managerial experience. So you saw that. Then about an hour later, PLZ Soccer, new Celtic manager on the way. Wilfred Nuncy all set for December start. I don't think anyone knows what the fuck's going on. And the reason I brought that up is because Smell the Glove put this comment up here saying apparently Wilfred Nancy starting next Monday. But that comes from Powers at Soccer and Peter Maguire, so probably rubbish. So, Liam, what do you know?
I think I know exactly what's happening here because I actually wrote a blog about this just a couple of hours ago. Basically, it's come out through various channels that there's a rumour. Wilfred Nancy, the main thing holding up the deal is that Celtic have not officially asked his club yet, Columbus Crew, to negotiate to get him out of his contract, right? And we've said plenty about the Celtic board today, but if they do hire Wilfred Nancy, the one thing they're not doing is taking the cheap option, because that's going to be a 7-figure sum to get him and his backroom team, right, out of contract.
About £2.5 million from what I've seen, Liam. If you wanted to get
Yeah.
him, his assistant coach, and his head of recruitment, or like his lead scout, brick those guys in, which is the one who does all his analytics. If you want to get them, I think it's about £2.5 million.
Yeah, and analytics is key. Let's be honest,
The way
because
he
even
plays.
the board admitted that at the very brief speech that they did give at the AGM last week. They admit that they're heavily into analytics,
And
so
with
they
the
would
way
look
he-
even more stupid if they didn't bring that guy in.
The way he plays, and with old mate Tisdale and having his own analytics system and all this stuff, if you had to bring that bloke in who understands what the coaches want and can factor that into what the club has for analytics, that you'd need that.
Aye, and remember the Tisdale connection is to Nancy's assistant. It's not to Nancy, so he's not coming unless the assistant and the analytics guy are coming with him. But anyway, so £2.5 million is the figure being bandied around. I don't know how valid that is, but it's something in that ballpark, right? But the latest rumour is that if Celtic wait until December 1st, that figure drops dramatically because Nancy is in the final year of his deal, right? So they're not going to officially approach Columbus Crew until December 1st because they will have a lot more bargaining power at that point.
So it's like the old transfer knockdown thing. When a player goes in the last year of their deal, you basically can halve them. Like us getting Nigran, who was rated as a £6 million player, we picked him up for bugger all.
We would have paid 7 or 8 million for him if we'd gone for him in January as opposed to the summer. It's the same principle. But this Gary O'Neill story, I think, and because I've seen this happen before with other teams and other managers, I think this is what you call softening the blow. Basically, they put out a name that nobody wants, right? Nobody would want Gary O'Neill as the Celtic manager. No disrespect to him, but he has no profile. He has no history of winning great things, whatever, right? He's not the profile of manager we want. A lot of fans don't think Wilfred Nancy is either, right? But at least Wilfred Nancy has a good winning record recently. He's got a good progressive style of football that suits what Celtic fans want to see. So, if you're offered the choice, do you want Gary O'Neill or Wilfred Nancy? All those people who are suddenly unsure about Wilfred Nancy are going to switch and go, do you know what? I will take Nancy. It's to shut up the critics.
I'm going to go on a tangent, Liam. Sorry, finish your point. Go on.
I was just going to say that's the whole thing. The Gary O'Neill thing is a non-story. It's been put out there to soften people's stance on Wilfred Nancy. Because if it's an alternative between the two, 95% of Celtic fans would go for Wilfred Nancy because at least he's going to do something exciting.
So, if we're going to wait till December 1, so a certain coach is in the last year of his deal, we get to December 1, there's also another coach who has a tie into Australia and Ange Postecoglou and Glasgow by being a 10-minute hun in Kevin Muscat, who at that point officially also be in the last year of his deal. So could we be holding off and everyone's thinking that, and, everyone thinks we're playing chess and they're over there playing checkers trying to get Muscat in? Who knows?
Do you know, I would love to see that happen. I really would. I don't care if he played for the old Rangers, Rico Scott and Pachi. That club's dead. Any legacy they have died with them. So Muscat is clean as far as I'm concerned. it's there's also the fact that I think he's a very, very good manager.
Yeah, he's good at building squads on the cheap, and he's also he's got this thing in a press conference where he'll talk and he'll go, "You're like, he'll halfway through he'll say something and he'll just go, and his thumbs, he just does that, and it bugs the living shit out of me. But that will annoy the press. I'm telling you.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
tell
anybody
his
who keeps the
words.
Scottish press annoyed is okay in my book.
When he does it, you can tell he's like thinking, "Oh, we want this one to tell someone to fuck off," and there he's going. And then he says something like basically telling them that, but in a different way. It's the best.
It sounds similar when Ange used to call people mate. You know?
Don't call me mate. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the manager. But I think if we're holding off till December for Nancy for that reason, let's have a look at the old at the Muskie thing as well.
I mean, at that point, you're only a couple of weeks from Kjetil Knutsen being available as well, potentially.
Apparently, he's signed a new deal. He's got a new deal in front of him.
I don't see.
I don't think.
Again, I'm not one to speak out of turn here, but the word is that he does very well out of his job at Bodo Glimt beyond just his contract, and I'll leave it at that. So I don't think
he's selling fees and he's share of that. So yeah, 100%.
I was trying to be diplomatic, but all right, okay, the guy gets backhanders.
I'll just say it. No, he's got the same deal that Jackie Mack had when he was the manager at Dundee United. You sell a player, you sell him for money, he gets a percentage. That's what it is. Like, let's not bullshit it. We all know what it is. We're all adults here. Sometimes.
When it's absolutely necessary.
Yep. So later in the week, we're playing Feyenoord in Rotterdam. Any Celtic fans going over there, I'm going to say I've got 2 bits of advice for you. Number one, if they come at you trying to start trouble, feel free to clatter some people. Number 2, enjoy the game.
I would just add to that Feyenoord fans are generally all right. It's the Ajax fans you've got to watch out for. I've had a drink on many an occasion with Feyenoord fans, and they're mostly decent people. So I think Celtic will be all right over there.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll be fine. So yeah, well, I think we're going to start wrapping up. Liam, you said you got 2 final thoughts, so I'll let you go with one, then I'll go with mine, and you can finish off with your.
Okay.
So go with your serious one first, then.
Right, serious one here. I was reading today about a football club that I've been kind of following in the background for a few years. I don't know if you guys remember, a few years ago there was a Brazilian team called Chapecoense who had made the final of the Copa Libertadores, the equivalent of the Champions League in South America. Tragically, most of their team were killed in a plane crash on the way to one of the games. And, you know, the club have struggled since then, whatever. But anyway, as of yesterday, they're now promoted back to the top flight. So well done, Chapecoense. A wee good news story for you know, real football fans out there. So well done to them, and good luck to them for next season.
My final thought is I'm going to share a picture on the screen. Scotland fans, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to plonk a traffic cone on this. Well done getting to the World Cup, you guys.
Aye. So for my final thought, I'm just going to share a wee story that a friend of mine has got 2 kids, and his 4-year-old is a wee bit impressionable. You know, hears things and tends to pick them up. So apparently the 4-year-old was trying to open a pot of yogurt this morning, and he couldn't get the lid off it. He says, "Oh, fucking stupid fucking lid." And his dad starts giggling. And the wife jumps in immediately, disapprovingly, and says, "Oh, I wonder where I get that from." And the husband says, "Well, the fridge, you daft cunt." See you next week, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoyed sweary time with Liam this week on Celtic Down Under. See you next week. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.